Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another PWMania.com exclusive. My name is Ari Barkin, and I am here with the one, the only, the legend, Gene Snitsky.
Yeah, buddy.
Woo!
Taking care of business. Me and Ari. What's up, dog?
I am so honored to have you, man. I am so honored to have you. Let's just get this out of the way. I know we're both Batman fans, so I got my Batman mug here while it's not being blurred. I know you got a badass watch. That is so cool.
Yeah,
Amazing.
buddy.
You got one more thing that's Batman.
All the way.
You got one more Batman thing, right? That's related to Batman, right?
Well,
To stomp out a bug or two. Very nice.
always got to have the Batman stuff. Usually at least one item, maybe two, maybe three. It depends. You never know.
Love that. Love that. I appreciate your fandom of it and everything.
Yeah,
Awesome.
man.
All right. So I'm a huge fan of yours and I'm thrilled to have you here. So let's just get right into it because I've been so curious to know from you, directly from you. In 2018, you were planning on retiring. And I wanted to know what your current views on that is, or that are, because you have taken quite some time off from wrestling up until a few weeks ago when you returned at Battle Riot 5 for MLW. And that was a really, really great surprise. I was genuinely shocked. I was watching. I was actually like, whoa, okay, this is actually happening. I gotta talk to this guy. More than ever now. So I gotta know, was this a one-off? Are we expecting to see you back in MLW full-time? Maybe another promotion? What's going on right now?
Did you say MLW?
Oh, there you go. I didn't even notice the hat until I said it. It's 11 a.m. in New York, so no, I'm kidding. That is awesome. So I guess you're an MLW guy now. Is that what's happening?
We'll have to wait and see. I'm not at liberty to say, but the crazy thing about pro wrestling is you never say never. And the response was overwhelming. The fans seemed to have loved the spot, and the fans have a lot of say in the wrestling business these days. So I would keep my eyes peeled if I was the wrestling fan, because you never know where Snitsky's going to show up. I'm in great shape. I look amazing. I feel amazing. I'm ruggedly handsome.
Yes, you are. You're all those things.
And Ari, Batman has my back.
That's right. That's right. He sure does. He sure does. So you said never say never. And I really love the concept of that. And especially when it comes to wrestling, because there are so many wrestlers out there that put their bodies on the line day in and day out for no cash at all, sometimes driving thousands of miles. And it really takes a lot to become a wrestler and to become a successful one at that. And clearly you have had massive success, especially in the WWE, where you weren't in OVW for more than a year when you had really gotten on screen and started doing things with Kane. Could you talk about the time you spent in OVW getting ready for your TV debut? And do you feel like it happened rather quickly for you?
Well, I signed in May of 2004 and moved out to Louisville in June of 2004, and I was on TV in September of 2004. So, that happened pretty fast. I know a lot of guys that had been at OVW for like several years. So I was very fortunate. I came from an athletic background. I played pro football a little bit, played Division I football at University of Missouri, was first team All-State at Panther Valley here in Pennsylvania. Grew up in a small coal mining town and just always aspired to be a pro athlete. I wanted to do the football thing first, but then, injury, I tore my labrum at Missouri. It was misdiagnosed, and then I went and played with the Chargers for a couple months. And then it just kept, lingering on. So I got it fixed. I had surgery on my shoulder, came back in a year, played in the CFL for the Birmingham Barracudas, and then got into wrestling after that. But anyways, to get back to the story and the question, I moved out to Louisville in June. Was, working with Danny Davis there at the OVW Arena. Jimmy Cornette was there. And, just going through the drills. Bill DeMott was our coach. He was our trainer there, and Lance Storm. And, I was just basically, I trained with the Wild Samoans here in Pennsylvania. So Pops would always tell me, hey, man, just be a sponge. Go in, introduce yourself to everybody, just be a sponge. So that was basically my approach. I went out to Louisville, moved out to Louisville, did what was asked of me, just, tried to absorb all the information I can, learn their way of doing things, and, just train hard, always be the first one in the drill, always, hustling, all that kind of stuff. Just from my football background, it just came natural. But, I was a big athletic guy. I was like probably about 280, 285 at the time. Always was able to do like, all kind of stuff, like moonsaults and all that kind of stuff. Nothing my character would do, but I mean, I could always do that kind of stuff. Like at training and stuff, we goof around and do all that stuff. But, so I just kind of followed Bill DeMott's lead, did my thing. And I was very fortunate that, when they called me and told me, they needed me, I was ready to go. So I always just took the approach of, train as hard as you can and be ready. And if something happens, give it 100%. And, I was fortunate enough to get thrown right into the midst of a hot angle. And my attitude was, man, I'm taking this ball and I'm scoring a touchdown, whether they like it or not.
I think that's exactly what you did. And not only did you score a touchdown, I think you won the game on that one. And
Yeah,
honestly, the whole "it was not my fault" was born out of that. And the comedy that came with it, I don't think you understand how we as fans were watching and laughing. I mean, I remember there once being a segment where John Cena was going through the locker room and he was opening up different doors to, like, you get the boogeyman, you got this, you got that, and then all of a sudden it opens a door on you and you're just like looking and you're doing something creepy. I think Heidenreich was there and you say it's not your fault. And it was just the comedy that came with it was just as balanced as the drama and the craziness that came with it. So I have to ask you about the spot with the baby doll that you punted into the crowd. Who approached you about that, and how long did it take you to go, okay, I'll do that? Like, how long did it take for you to be okay with doing something that radical for that time? You know what I mean? Like,
well, I was always the kind of guy in high school and grade school that if you dared me to do something, I would do it just for a reaction. That was just my personality. So ironically, that was like a perfect fit for me. And I can remember, going to the ring to walk through it. And Vince was very hands-on with that storyline. So he came, he's like, hey, we're going to do this. And, whatever you do, don't F it up. Are we allowed to curse on this?
sure.
Vince is like, he's like, whatever you do, don't fuck this up. I'm like, listen, Mr. McMahon, I was an all-area punter in high school. This is going to be amazing. Trust me. And I truly was an all-area punter in high school, which is the funny part of it. So, we went through it, walked through it, yada, yada. Time came, I went out. Honestly, to me, I said this the other day on a podcast. I was like, the funniest thing to me about that was the little fake baby sounds when I walked out with the baby doll. And they're just, like, I was like, I'm thinking to myself, this is freaking great. Like, I'm trying not to laugh while I'm doing the skit.
Right.
Because it's so ridiculous. And I'm like, this is awesome. So then I get in there and, do the whole deal with the baby doll and punted it. And, it's crazy. Like looking back on it, I didn't think anything of it. It was just another day at the office. But it's, it's kind of grew a life of its own. And it's, what's that, 04, 19 years later, we're still talking about it. So that's kind of funny to me that something so like off the wall, off the cuff, just kind of stuck with the people and resonated with the fans to the point where they're still talking about it all these years later. But it's cool because as a performer, that's what you strive for.
Yep.
You're an actor.
Yep.
You want to be remembered for your performance. If your performance is accepted and reveled, then people will remember you. So that was my main thing, man. I just wanted to get there, do everything I could, as good as I could, and make everything, turn a pile of shit into a pile of gold. That's kind of just my attitude.
Right.
Like I was everything they gave me, I just wanted to make it the best I could possibly make it and the most entertaining. And that's just me. That's how I live my life every day. I like to have fun. I like to goof around. My wife, I always tell her, I'm like, life's too short, man. You got to have fun. If you're not having fun, why are you doing it? So shout out to my gorgeous wife, Carolyn.
Hello, Carolyn, right? Yeah.
Carolyn. Yep.
Amazing.
So, that's just kind of how I live my life day to day. So it's kind of ironic that, I was given that spot and like remembered for all that stuff. And because, my wife and I laugh about it. We're like, this is the goofiest stuff and people remember it. And it's like every day of my life, I get, it's not my fault, at least 5 to 10 times every day of my life, no matter what.
Hold on. I got to pause that. I'm so sorry. All right. So we were just talking about how life after wrestling or after that WWE moment has been interesting since 19 years later. We're still talking about it, and obviously it was executed well. And it's really nice to know that people understood what was going on, and that, you know, you weren't kicking a real baby into the crowd, obviously. So
Ironically, people still think it was a real baby, believe it or not.
there are I'm sure there are those people that still do. And
Yeah, I've
uh,
had people come into the shop and they're like, "Man, was that a real baby?" I'm like, "No, it was not a real baby." Like it cracks me up, like that people would honestly think I kicked a real baby on
right, that
television.
would actually have you do that on live television, nonetheless. Oh my goodness, it's incredible. So, so you were talking about how you came into the, you know, to OVW as a big athletic man, and another big athletic man is Kane, someone you were thrown to the fire with right away. And I'm sure that there was a lot of great lessons learned, and I'm sure maybe he taught you a few things. But the interesting thing is, before we talk about Kane, I want to talk about your movie industry experience. You know, you as an actor, you're not just a wrestler, you're an actor. And Kane also being an actor, you had to put him out of commission so that he could go and do a movie. So all these years later, rather, you have been in quite a few films. Would you like to talk about your acting career? I'd love to know what you've got going on and what you have coming out, what you've already had come out. What's going on there? You're a very artistic, creative person, and I know you're using different avenues. So
Well, right now I'm basically focusing all my time and energy on the shop. I have a partner with a buddy of mine. We have Priority One Surplus here in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. So most of my time goes to that. I'm back wrestling probably once, sometimes twice a week. But most of my time and energy is spent there because I'm, really involved with like the Keystone military families and the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, and
you have
we
veterans
do
in
a
your
lot.
family, I know.
Yeah, we do a lot of military, benefits and stuff like that. My brother was an honor guard, and my dad was an Air Force guy. So, you know, my eyes really, I mean, I was always super respectful of the military and all that. But when we went over to Afghanistan for the Tribute to the Troops show in 2005, it was just like the way those guys lived over there, and, just to ensure our freedoms and stuff like that here in, the United States. Man, I was like, this is crazy the way that, these guys have to live to defend our freedoms. So, it's my way of giving back. I enjoy it. I like helping out the people. We, we try to do what we can to help, but unfortunately, with the way the world is right now, it's a little crazy out there. But we do what we can and help where we can, and I'm very active with all those kind of things. So that's where most of my time goes now. But back to the original question, I did do a movie. It's called 100 Acres of Hell. I co-produced it, co-wrote it, starred in it, fight coordinator, stunt coordinator, pretty much wore jack of all trades hat for that film.
Sure.
Called in a lot of favors, yada yada. But I'm very proud of it. We actually won the best horror feature at the Philadelphia Film Festival
Amazing.
back in
Just
geez, seems like a lifetime ago. But anyways, I forget what year it was, but we won the award
sure.
there. And unfortunately, with the COVID lockdown, it kind of killed the momentum of the film because our film debuted in October of 19, and then March of 20, the world shut down.
Right.
So it just kind of brought everything to a screeching halt, unfortunately, but it is still out there on all the streaming platforms and all that. So if you want to check it out, it's 100 Acres of Hell. It's a great flick. I'm not saying it because I'm in it, but it's actually, we wanted to do like a homage to the 80s horror. So it was more like, build up the tension, have the big crescendo at the end kind of thing, not, having slice and dice right in the original scene, in the opening scene. So, it was a lot of hard work, a lot of time and effort and energy. And, I'm very proud of how it came out. Just really bummed out that the world shut down and didn't get the chance to really get it out there across all the markets because they were working on a European deal and a Southeast Asia deal and all that. And just kind of, like I said, came to a screeching halt, unfortunately. But, you know, if you're a horror fan like myself, go ahead and check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll have a lot of positive things to say about it after you watch it. There's some twists and turns, and I don't want to give too many things away, but it's it's definitely, for what the amount of money we had to work with, it came out amazing, and it's on like Amazon Prime and all that kind of stuff. So just Google it, 100 Acres of Hell. You'll see it, I'm sure, on all the platforms still. But you know, right now, as far as the acting goes, I'm not really doing much with it. But creativity wise, I just came out with my own line of T-shirts at Pro Wrestling Tee.
Amazing.
I designed all those myself with the creative team at Pro Wrestling Tees, but they were all based off of my idea, and then we went back and forth kind of thing until we finalized it. But I'm pretty
Amazing.
proud of how they came out. They're pretty funny and pretty cool. And if anybody's a fan of mine wants to get some of the merch, prowrestlingtees.com. Snitsky, I have my own store there, so check it out.
Amazing.
The law firm one seems to be the best selling, ironically. I have a Snitsky and Snitsky law firm.
Oh my God, I gotta get
It's never your fault.
that. That
And
is
that's a pretty good one.
epic. That
But
is
you gotta look closely because I have the scales of justice on the shirt, and there's a little baby on the scale tipping the scale of justice.
I love
It's
the
freaking
attention to detail. I love that. That's great.
it's tremendous.
Do
Yeah.
you have that in hoodies as well by any chance, or just shirts right now?
I'm not sure what all they offer. If you click on the link, it gives you like options.
Options,
I
gotcha.
think I
Oh my
think
God.
I would have to think there's hoodies. I mean, they're
Definitely
like
gonna
the
get that.
biggest. Yeah, they're like the biggest T-shirt provider for pro wrestling. So I would have to imagine they have all that kind of stuff. But
I love that.
I've seen a couple. A guy, actually, one of my customers at the shop came in with a law firm shirt on last week, and I popped huge. I was like, "Oh my God, that's great!" Because it's like
That's
it's
great.
such a cool shirt. It's just funny. Like
It
I
is.
like to add a little bit of comedy to everything because, like I said, life's too short. You got to have fun. There's a lot of people that take life too serious out there, and they're miserable, and it's just shit's hard enough out there, man. Why make it harder
I
on
make it
yourself?
harder.
Have
Exactly.
fun.
You're right.
Have fun. Enjoy life. You don't know how much time you have on this earth, so go out and enjoy it because it could all end in a blink of an eye.
That is so true. That is so true. And here's the thing that I wanted to ask you. It's great that you mentioned the Army surplus store, because I know that from my little research that I did on you, your father and your brother are both veterans, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And Memorial Day is coming up. And how many years have you now had this Army surplus store? I kind of wanted to ask you that.
I'll be there 7 years, but we've been in business going on 12 now. My
Okay.
buddy John started it with his son, and he asked me if I wanted to get on board, and it was an easy yes, and just kind of got involved with that, and just kind of one thing led to another, and we've kept growing and growing and growing exponentially. So we're in our new location in Hamburg. It's about probably 5 times the size of our old store. So knock on wood, everything's going good. Business is good, and it's kind of a labor of love, man. It's like I said, trying to give back, and just it's very rewarding.
Sure. And that is the most important thing with what we do in our life. Whatever we do, wrestling, acting, opening up a store for veterans and Army surplus and all that, if it makes us feel good, that is very important. So I kind of wanted, speaking of feelings, I wanted to get your feelings on the current product today. And I'm talking both WWE and AEW. Now, I know you are obviously an MLW guy, but I have to ask the question, before MLW came calling, if AEW or WWE had called, if they called, what would your response be? And what is your opinion on that product today, both AEW's presentation of it and WWE's?
Well, I mean, WWE is in a league of their own. Let's be realistic. They have the worldwide recognition with the product. I mean, when you say you wrestled at WWE, everybody knows what that is. Like, no offense to AEW or any of the other federations, but they're literally, it's just not as globally known as WWE. Like, you could go anywhere in the world and say, hey, man, I wrestled at WWE, and everybody knows pretty much what that is. But as far as the product goes, these days it's more of like an acrobatic show, if you ask me. Like, a lot of the stuff they do just to do. Like, when I was coming up through the business, like I said, I trained at the Wild Samoan Pro Wrestling Training Center, and a lot of the psychology stuff that we learned isn't as prevalent as it is, as it was back then. Now it's about, I hate to use the word, but it's almost like a gymnastics match or a gymnastics show. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I can never understand how somebody takes a superplex in the first part of the match and then gets up and they're running the ropes a minute later. It's like that's the biggest move of wrestling. How do you just get up and run around after that? That should be it. You should be done. So like just those aspects of it, kind of every once in a while, I'm watching it and I just shake my head and I'm like, man, that just doesn't make any sense.
Lack
But
of ring psychology. Would you say that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, not straight across the board, but a lot of the time. But
Right.
that's just how I was trained. I was trained to less is more, make everything matter, make sure the guy in the very last row of the arena has time to digest what happened and let it digest before you move on to the next thing. And as a big guy, you're doing a lot of power moves. So if I give a guy a body slam, I'm not going to pick him right back up and then shoot him off the ropes and give him a hip toss or backdrop or something. You know what I'm saying? I want to give him a big body slam and get my character and get myself over. I'm not going to be running to the next. All right, let's do the next spot per se. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So, like to me, it's more of the work your character, let the people digest, and then move on to the next thing. Unfortunately, I think the way with the fans' attention span these days is so short that you have to try to put everything in there that you can because you only get a certain amount of time. So, I mean, you could blame the guys, you could blame the business, you could blame the fans. I mean, it's just the way it is. But personally, I like the older stuff with the characters and the over the top personalities, and you don't see much of that anymore. Because that's what caught my attention as a 10-year-old flipping through the channels. It's like you see Hulk Hogan, Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior. You're like, wow, look at those guys. That's awesome. Like you don't see those larger than life characters anymore. It's like those guys were a once in a lifetime thing. It's sad to say, but I don't think you'll ever see any characters with that longevity or that impact ever again.
Do you think you have the possibility of reawakening that spirit in wrestling if WWE had given you a call, or maybe they have, or are you at liberty to
Well,
discuss anything that maybe any kind of contact you've had with
see,
WWE?
I'm a different case scenario because like I not knocking any of the guys in the wrestling business by any means, but a lot of the guys depend on wrestling for their livelihood. I went to college, I have a degree, I did the football thing, I have my schooling, I have a management degree. I'm not just another pretty face. So, I have an education. I'm smart. I'm kind of like sly like a fox. I play stupid when I need to, but I know what's going on. I've been around the world. I'm good with people. Like I don't need to depend on wrestling for a living. So in that aspect, like if they would have called and the numbers were right and the character was right and the storyline, I mean, there's a lot of variables to it. That's what was awesome about MLW. They were like, I know Court Bauer for 20 plus years. When I was first breaking into business, him and I were at Dory Funk's, and that's where I originally met him. And him and I just hit it off, and kept in touch over the years. And they reached out to me, and I was like, "Well, what do you have in mind?" And they told me, I was like, "Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome." And it was in Philly, so it was only like an hour and a half drive from my house. So it was cool. Go down, do my thing, see a lot of the guys I haven't seen in a while, and it's cool because now like I trained with Samu and Lloyd and Alpha Jr. and all those guys. And now Samu's son Lance Anawahi, is one of the tag team champions at MLW, and I've known him since he's like 3-4 years old.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool to see the development of him and what he's doing now, and that I trained with his dad, and I'm tight with the family, and I used to travel with Umaga back at WWE, and like seeing the Usos now, like their nephews. I remember when Umaga brought the Usos to the show in Houston and had them backstage, and they were just hanging out like before they even got into wrestling. So that's cool to see how the guys are all developing and all that kind of stuff, and getting to work with Lance now after breaking into business with his dad Sam. So it's kind of cool how things came full circle. But that was one of the main reasons I really liked MLW. Like they let me be me. They let me do what I want to do pretty much as far as my character and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of glad it ended up being MLW, to be honest with you, because at WWE I wouldn't have as much creative control, and I really don't know anything about AEW. I know a lot of the guys there, but I don't really know like any of the like I don't know Tony Khan. I don't know any of the executive type people. So in that aspect, I'm kind of glad things fell into place the way they did. MLW is awesome. They put on a great show. It's super professional, super like all the details, all the lights, all the bells and whistles, so to speak. Those guys are awesome. So if things work out and I'm back, great. If they don't and I'm not back, I'm okay too. But obviously I enjoyed it. And like I said, the overwhelming response from the fans, it's like, they tagged me on some of the social media stuff, and it's like, I haven't looked at it in the last couple of days, but the numbers were crazy, like comparatively speaking to the other posts they had. So it's kind of flattering, as a performer, like we said earlier, that people are still that vested in my character and vested in me to watch, the Twitter, to watch the Facebook, to watch the Instagram posts. So just want to say thanks to all my fans out there. Enjoy the ride, because I sure am. And it ain't over yet.
Definitely, it isn't. I think this is just like one of the first chapters, honestly. It's just getting started for you. I mean, I love your energy. I love your approach. I love your outlook on life. It is really, really refreshing. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but there is just one question from the business aspect of things. I want to know who, and it's going to be it's going to be a two-parter question. The first part is, who was the most stiff, toughest opponent in the ring you have ever faced anywhere? And who was the easiest to work with anywhere?
Ironically, it's probably the same two guys. I
Ah,
mean, everybody like frowns upon Chris Benoit because of what happened and all that kind of stuff. But I always had a great chemistry with Chris. We had a lot of great matches, and he's stiff and we work snug and all that. But I'll tell you what, man, he was so much fun to work with. It's so easy to set up matches with him, and you know, hindsight's always 2020, and people say, well, he did this, he did that, and that, yada yada. But hey, I can only go by what I know about the guy and how he treated me and how my interactions were with him. So, and then the second guy probably be Hardcore Holly. Him and I just had really great chemistry, and we laid it. We liked laying shit into each other and making it look as real as possible. And they're probably my two favorite guys that I worked at WWE. To be honest with you, like just as far as chemistry and story and making it look as real as possible. That was those two guys, man. It was fun working with them. You watched one of our matches and you were like, damn, those guys, they're really hitting each other.
they're getting into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll never forget, man, the first time I ever saw you in person. And it's incredible that all these years later, we're sitting here talking like this. It's just incredible. I remember it was a super show, Raw and SmackDown, both brands, in Madison Square Garden. I believe it was 2004, maybe 2005. You were driving a yellow Hummer into the parking lot, literally across the street. And I was one of those people that was there early. I had left my high school classes early just to be there early to see people like you. And you're driving in, I'm like, oh shit, it's Gene Snitsky. And then everybody turns around and starts yelling, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. Like, here we are sitting all these years later. Later, it's like, I'm not trying to be fanboying, but it is truly an honor, a privilege to sit down with a gentleman like you that's accomplished so much in different worlds, and you have so much left to accomplish. I really, really, really want to thank you so much for sitting down with us and talking. And if you have any kind of wisdom for an up and coming wrestler, for someone who's watching this, who is trying to study from the greats, and you're one of the greats, honestly, this is my opinion. This is the opinion of a lot of people. We would like to know, I mean, I'm not a wrestler, but the wrestling community and the wrestlers who are trying to break through, what suggestions, what recommendation, what message do you have for them in terms of to keep going and never quitting? What is your words on that?
I mean, you have to have faith in yourself, man, because like when I was coming up, like I was literally down to my last $10 and living at my mom's. And, it was one of those things where if I would have not had faith in myself, it would have been really easy for me to give up. But you can never give up if you have a dream. You got to chase it till you can't chase it no more. I mean, I'm from a small coal mining town, like I said, and it's just, I get, I get choked up sometimes. It's just, don't ever give up on yourself.
Wow. And to diffuse the situation a little bit, what kind of cigar are you smoking?
What am I smoking here? Drew Estate Underground. Drew Estate's my man. He's Jonathan Drew's a good dude. My buddy Matty Rock's the marketing director for
Oh,
them. So
Matty, we're friends on Facebook, actually. Yeah,
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 Matty's
Matty,
awesome, man. He's a
I
good
met
dude.
Matty before. He's cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Guys are
anyways, like,
supportive.
back to what we were just
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, yeah,
Have
yeah.
faith in yourself. Don't take no for an answer. You know, I'm from a small town. If I could do it, you could.
I love that, man. You can, when a person gets touched, gets so choked up emotionally talking about not to give up, it really shows that you have overcome so much and you don't want to see your family go through what you personally went through in that struggle to get to where you are now. And now I understand why you're so happy, why you want to look at life so happy. You got to get to the gold, you got to go through the shit. And clearly you've been through shit and you've now hit the gold. My man, you are, God bless you. Honestly, God bless you so much. Thank you so much for imparting such knowledge and such wisdom and such a touch on history of wrestling. And thank you for giving us an insight into your life these days. And we really, really appreciate your time, Gene. So thank you so much. And we remember it was not your fault.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to running into you in person again someday. We talk on social media a lot, and
We're going to do it.
really enjoy all your stuff, and super proud of you with all your acting stuff too, man. Keep grinding. That's all you can do. Just keep grinding. Never give up. Just keep moving forward. Because
right.
you don't know how much time you have left. So make the most of it.
Amen. Amen.
And if you don't, it's not my fault.
So good to talk to you, my brother. Thank you so much. And on behalf of pwmania.com, we really thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And, don't forget, check out my shop at Pro Wrestling Tees. Stop by the store in Hamburg if you're ever in Pennsylvania. And check me out on all my social media stuff. And, stranger things have happened. Never say never. You don't know where you're going to see me next. So keep your eyes peeled because I'm a giant ninja.